Day 9 of the 2025 festival carried an electric buzz. Fans had already been through a week of unforgettable music, but something felt different that evening. Whispers ran through the crowd. Nick Johnston, the Canadian guitar virtuoso, would share the stage with Bill Kelliher, the legendary riff master from Mastodon. Two very different worlds of guitar were about to collide. For fans, this was more than a performance. It was a rare meeting of styles. Johnston's melodic, fluid lines against Kelliher's heavy, crushing sound. The sun dipped behind the festival grounds, and the crowd pressed closer, knowing they were about to witness history. At first, many wondered why these two would play together. Johnston was known for his progressive instrumental work, often weaving jazz, rock, and ambient tones into his music. Kelliher, on the other hand, was famous for building Mastodon's thunderous wall of sound. But that was the magic. This wasn't about staying in their lanes. It was about pushing boundaries. When the festival announced their collaboration, ticket sales spiked. Fans of both worlds, metalheads and prog enthusiasts, came together, curious about the chemistry. No one knew exactly what to expect, but everyone knew one thing. It would be loud, passionate, and unforgettable. The stage lights dimmed. A giant banner stretched across the back with both their names, glowing against the night sky. Amplifiers hummed in the background. The festival crew placed both guitars at center stage, Nick's sleek custom Strat-style guitar and Bill's powerful ESP model. They gleamed like weapons waiting to be unleashed. The air was thick with anticipation. Suddenly, the lights flared, and the two guitarists walked out together. Johnston wore his quiet smile, calm and collected, while Kelliher carried the swagger of a battle-hardened metal warrior. They didn't need words. The music would do the talking. Nick Johnston started first. His fingers danced lightly across the fretboard, creating a wave of smooth, emotional sound that rolled across the festival grounds. It was gentle yet powerful, the kind of tone that made people close their eyes. Then Kelliher struck. His guitar roared, deep and heavy, shaking the ground with Mastodon's signature energy. The clash of sounds wasn't a clash at all. It was a conversation, like two storytellers from different cultures sharing the same fire. The crowd erupted in cheers, realizing they were about to hear something entirely unique. The set moved into uncharted territory. Johnston's solos soared above Kelliher's riffs like a bird flying over mountains. At times, Bill's guitar was the thunder, while Nick's was the lightning. Other times, their sounds melted together until it was impossible to tell who was leading. The crowd swayed, headbanged, and shouted, caught between beauty and brute force. Fans of Johnston discovered a heavier side they didn't expect, while Mastodon loyalists were stunned by the elegance Nick brought into the mix. Together, they created something no album or studio track could ever capture. Midway through the set, something special happened. Instead of playing a set list, they broke into an unplanned jam. Johnston took a melody that sounded almost like a lullaby, then twisted it into something darker. Kelliher responded with a crushing riff, and suddenly the jam took shape, half improvisation, half instinct. The two guitarists grinned at each other, pushing further and further, like rivals locked in a friendly duel. The crowd went wild, sensing they were witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Phones went up, but many fans simply stood still, frozen in awe. Bill Kelliher pulled the crowd into familiar territory when he began the opening riff of a Mastodon classic. The audience roared in recognition, fists pumping in the air. But then came the twist. Nick Johnston layered his own melodies on top, transforming the heavy anthem into something new. It was Mastodon, but through a different lens. The mix of brutality and beauty left the crowd stunned. Even die-hard Mastodon fans admitted they had never heard the song sound this powerful. It wasn't just a collaboration, it was reinvention. While Kelliher brought the thunder, Johnston had his own moment. The stage lights dimmed to a single spotlight, and Nick played a breathtaking solo. Every note was clear, sharp, and filled with emotion. The festival grounds fell silent. Thousands of people stood frozen, completely locked in on his guitar. It was haunting, fragile, yet unshakably strong. Then, slowly, Kelliher's guitar entered again, soft at first, then building like a storm behind Nick's melody. The two guitars lifted each other higher and higher until the silence shattered into cheers. As the final song approached, the crowd already knew they were part of history. The stage exploded with lights as Johnston and Kelliher unleashed one last collaboration. It was fast, aggressive, and emotional, every riff and solo telling a story of two worlds colliding. The crowd sang, shouted, and screamed along, caught in the energy. When the last note hit, both guitarists raised their hands to the sky, sweat dripping, smiles wide. The audience answered with a roar so loud it echoed long after the music stopped. When the lights finally dimmed, fans stood there, speechless. This wasn't just another festival performance. It was a rare union of two different forces of music. Nick Johnston had shown his grace and creativity, while Bill Kelliher had delivered the raw power that only Mastodon could bring. Guys, together they had proven that music has no borders, no strict labels, only emotion. Day 9 of the 2025 festival wasn't about genres. It was about what happens when two guitarists from opposite worlds meet and speak the same language, the language of music.